So, I just finished watching the third episode of House of the Dragon, and I can say without question, this is definitely going to be the fan favorite of the three that's out so far. So, I just want to make this short video to do a quick review on it. This first section will be spoiler free, and then we'll go into a more spoilery section. So, spoiler free. This episode, it has quite a bit of politics. As you probably are aware with the prior two episodes, it was mostly politics for the prior two episodes. This one, however, does have quite a bit more action. There is a battle scene near the end, and a lot of character moments. Whereas I felt like the prior episodes, they had character moments, but nothing big. This one has some big character reveals. So I would definitely say that you're going to enjoy this one more if you like character moments and if you like action. Now, that's not to say that if you enjoy the politics, you're going to lose out, because you absolutely won't. There is more than enough politics in this episode to sate your appetite, as it were. So, just to give an overall idea and an overall score, if I were to rate the first two episodes, I would say the first episode was like maybe a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Let's say 6.5. And the second episode was like, I'm going to give it a 7. It was definitely better than the first episode, but just slightly so. This one, I would give it a 7.5 or 8. Definitely much improved. So that's as much as I can really say without going into heavy spoilers. There is a time jump in this episode, so we're about 2 or so years, maybe 3, from the second episode, which is obviously the whole point of this series or this season. It's going to be a lot of time jumps, moving from, basically from young Rhaenyra to older Rhaenyra, etc. So, gonna have to get used to those time jumps. Yeah, I think that's about all I can really say for the spoiler-free section. So if you haven't watched it yet, definitely do go watch it. I would highly recommend. And then you can come right back for the spoiler section, which I'll get into right now. Okay, so spoilers. We start off the episode seeing Daemon on his dragon attacking, obviously, the crab feeder, or apparently his name is King Drahar, or Prince Drahar, sorry. I haven't actually read the book, and I think that's preferable. I kind of want to experience this series blind, as it were. So I don't actually plan on reading the book, at least until the whole series is done, then I'll see how it compares. Now, we see the battle in the beginning with Prince Drahar, and it shows that this conflict has been going on for a while. Then the intro kicks in, and we cut to the new prince, Prince Aegon, the firstborn son of King Viserys and his new bride, and it's his second birthday. So they're going on a hunt, a royal hunt, where all the great lords and noble houses will be, and Rhaenyra clearly is not happy. She doesn't want to go, but she gets essentially forced by the command of the king, and she attends. She's essentially a prissy, bratty teenager, as is to be expected, you know. But at the same time, you can kind of understand her frustration. She essentially feels like the king has a firstborn son now. He has a new family. Why should she be there? Why is she necessary even in his life at all? So near the end of the episode, you basically get her saying that, oh, you're just going to replace me, etc., etc. So you understand her frustration. So they get to the main camp of the hunt, and she's still not happy, obviously. And in that camp, she gets the Lord Lannister, who tries to, he shoots his shot. Gotta respect the guy who shoots his shot. And, obviously she rejects him. And there's a lot of politicking in this specific section, the camp. A lot of people who actually want to vie for power, mostly with regard to the succession. The Lord Hand, I think Lord Hightower, Otto, he actually has a conversation with, I think, his elder brother, the actual Lord Hightower, the Great Lord, because he's the second-born son. And he essentially tells him, like, look, you're going to have to convince the king to essentially renounce Rhaenyra's succession or her status as heir and make Aegon heir. So obviously he tries to plant the seed, but it doesn't necessarily go as he plans. He even at one point suggests to the king that Rhaenyra marry Aegon one day, or at least betroth them, because it would stop all the betrothal requests. And the Targaryens, they often intermarried to keep the bloodline pure. So not actually a bad suggestion from him politics wise. And obviously it would benefit his house, because even if the king didn't want to renounce her status as heir, it would essentially still make it that his house becomes royalty, right? Other than his daughter. It would make that Aegon essentially becomes king. So there's a lot of politicking, a lot of people vying for the princess's hand, a lot of people trying to push the king into actually, renouncing her status as heir. Now, what I really like is that it actually shows that the king, he isn't just someone, he isn't this like sociopath or Machiavellian guy. He's a father. He loves his daughter, he cares for his daughter, he misses his dead wife still. And even though there's a moment, while he's drunk and he slightly falters, he feels maybe I should just, make Aegon heir, he at the end decides not to, because despite everything, he still loves his daughter. He cares for her. Even though she gives him endless headaches, he still wants to do right by her. He promised her that she would be heir, and he intends to stick with it. He does, however, want her to marry. He feels like it's essential. You need it, number one, to obviously strengthen your standing. You've got a husband who would become king. You can't have pure queen. You need a king and queen, apparently. You're obviously gonna need heirs. And it would be great if you could pick it from a noble house, because, that would strengthen your claim. Like, that noble house would then be loyal to you, number one, especially if it's a powerful house. And number two, if they have a lot of gold or a big army or whatever, it would essentially strengthen the crown. So, a lot of politics in that decision, but obviously Rhaenyra doesn't want it. She is not interested in just being sold off. But at the same time, it is what it is. It's back in those times, if you were royalty or even just nobility, you really didn't have a say in these matters usually. Now that does change at the end, when there's a bit of a confrontation between the king and the princess. Well, not confrontation, but he does talk to her and he says, look, you know what, fine, I didn't marry for advantage. She even tells him, like, if you did actually marry for advantage, you would have married Lord Corlys's daughter and not my best friend, essentially, who apparently it seems now that they aren't best friends at all. So he's like, okay, fine, fair enough. So he wants her to marry, but she can choose. He just wants her to marry because it is tradition and it does have to happen. So I do like that, you have this divide between father and daughter for the whole episode. And at the end, while it doesn't mend their relationship, it does seem like it improves it. It's better off. Some of that divide has slightly been healed. That is even despite the fact that the Queen and the Hand are both trying to pressure the king into obviously naming Aegon heir. And it makes sense. All the noble houses would want him to be heir. So they want a king, a male king. They don't necessarily want a queen, and they only accepted it because, that was before Aegon was born. So I really like this interplay of politics. And obviously there's also, before I forget, because I was about to move on to near the end, but there's also a scene where the princess runs off from the camp, and she's with, I forget his name, but the guy that she named to be one of the King's Guard, the knight. Apparently he becomes big in the series, from what I've heard, so I should probably get to know his name, but be that as it may, I'll probably will get to his name at some point. The point is, she runs off with him. She refuses to go back to the camp. He tries to, he talks to her, he tries to tell her, look, maybe you don't feel like you have much say over anything, but you've done me a great service. You've literally bestowed an honor upon my house that no one ever has, and I owe you all of that. So he's really kind to her. And he stays with her in the forest because, I'm not just going to leave the princess to her own devices in a fucking dangerous forest. Which is good because at night during camp, a boar randomly attacks them. They kill it, and, that's essentially the extent of it. They take the boar back to camp. What I do want to point out, though, or what I really enjoyed about the symbolism in this episode is throughout the whole episode, the hunters are telling the king, we found the white hart, which is a white stag essentially, which is seen as the symbol of kingship before the Targaryens came to power. So it's the king of the forest. And the whole time they're saying that we're tracking this white hart. We're going to have you kill this white hart. And you know what? The gods must definitely be smiling upon Aegon, because this is for his birthday, his name day. And now they're sending the king of the forest, Prince Aegon, the king of the forest. Maybe there's some, maybe the gods are trying to send a message. Maybe he should be king. That's what everyone's trying to tell the king. At the end of the day, they capture a stag, but it's not the white hart. So they're like, oh, well, he's not white, but he is a big stag, and you're here for the hunt. It is what it is. I mean, it's still a decent hunt. You were hoping for a boar, you get a stag, why not? Okay, fine. So they kill him. But then, and this is the morning after the boar attack with Rhaenyra. Then the boar, the white hart. The white hart actually appears to Rhaenyra. They're standing on this cliff or hill overlooking the forest, and they see the camp in the distance, and then the white hart appears to her, and then it just runs off. And I'm like, now that's some nice symbolism. The white hart appears to her. The symbol of royalty in the forest appears to Rhaenyra. Now, obviously, some shenanigans are gonna happen, because this whole series is about a civil war. So I don't foresee her rise to power going well. But, I did like the symbolism, and it does show that there's definitely some forces at work in her favor. It is, after all, a fantasy series. Anyway, so then we get to essentially what is the end of the episode. And this is the big battle scene. So Daemon Targaryen and Lord Corlys have been fighting a war against this crab feeder, as we saw in the beginning of the episode. But this has been raging on for 2 years now. Their numbers are depleted, the morale is low, and they are essentially on the losing side here. The king finally relents. He's like, okay, fine, I'll send you guys aid. And when the message gets to Daemon, he loses his shit. He's not happy. He's not happy at all. He essentially, poor guy, he when they say don't shoot the messenger, well, he shot the messenger. So, poor guy. Anyway, so I don't know if this was discussed beforehand, but it looked like he was just randomly going and giving up to the crab feeder. But as his guys approached, he randomly lashes out, starts fighting, starts attacking, and everyone starts going for him. Everyone comes out of the caves. All the enemy swarms him. He fights, he dodges arrows, he gets hit a couple times, and just as it seems like they're all surrounding him, they're all going to kill him, Lord Corlys and his men show up, and a dragon shows up, and suddenly the tides turn, and he chases after the crab feeder into the cave and cuts the guy in two. We don't actually see him fighting the guy, but he comes out of the cave with literally half the body, dragging it along, and it ends on this excellent shot of Daemon Targaryen's face, just bloodied and muddied and vicious. I really like that. So, I mean, compare this whole episode that I've explained now, and compare that to the previous 2 episodes, definite improvement, I would say. Definite improvement. It's dynamic, it's got politics, it's got character moments, it's got symbolism, it's got battles, gritty, fight scenes, it's got all of that. This is peak Game of Thrones. I wouldn't say in terms of quality, that some Game of Thrones episodes were, I have not yet seen them topped. But what I'm saying is, in terms of all the elements, all the ingredients, this is what made Game of Thrones good. And that's why I would say this episode's definitely like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. The only thing that could top it is if it gets to those episodes, like the Red Wedding was in Game of Thrones. That's always going to stand out as one of the best episodes out there. So if we get that level of, or even, the ending of the first season of Game of Thrones with the execution scene, things like that really elevate it, would push it to a 9 or a 10 out of 10. But that just shows you the quality of this episode. Episode 3 is already close, it's verging on that 7.5, 8 out of 10 range. So I would say definitely this series has captured me. I'm going to be doing reviews probably for every episode, And I didn't even plan this. I was just gonna, I did a stream on it because I was like, oh, I'm doing it for Rings of Power. I might as well do it for, I wasn't even gonna watch it, but I'll do it for House of the Dragon, because I was so burnt from Game of Thrones, I wasn't really intending on getting into it. And I fully expected it to be utter crap. But I am so pleasantly surprised. Legit, guys, I'm actually so happy. Now, I am tempering my expectations. Things can still go downhill. Game of Thrones started just as strong, and it didn't just go downhill, it went fucking underground, okay? So let's not get overly ambitious here. That being said, with caution, this is looking to be really good, and it's looking to be one of those series. And I mean, compared to everything else out there, name one fantasy series out there right now that even matches this in quality. You can't. And I'm not saying this is the peak level of television out there right now. I'm sure there are other series that are not fantasy that are even better. What I'm saying is, we fantasy fans have been waiting for something good for so long. Wheel of Time came and went, it was crap. Rings of Power has come and it's crap. I can't name a single series that has actually stood out. And this one is showing immense promise. If you haven't seen it, I made a video, which basically a stream highlight, where I'm saying that if this does well, if this reaches Game of Thrones level, and it has the potential, it has different writers, different producers, and even has George Martin working very closely with the production team. And you can tell his influences, like a lot of the dialogue pieces are straight from Song of Ice and Fire books, like they say phrases that it's from there, so that's really good. So it has the potential. This is the only thing right now that has the potential. If it can fill the gap, the void that Game of Thrones left, and Game of Thrones left a big void that no series has been able to fill since, but if it can fill that void, then there might be a fantasy TV series renaissance happening. Because once you have a big player like that in this empty space, essentially, all other series will have to be able to compete. It'll have to be able to bring that same level of quality, or just, risk dying out. Right now, it's a space of they're all just trying and seeing what sticks, and there's no real bar set. There's no real bar for quality. But if this sets a bar, then it would force the other shows to actually start trying to be good. It'll take time to adjust, but it would work. So we need this to do well, guys, and it got the potential. So if you haven't watched it yet, please do go watch it. I don't know why you'd be sitting through the spoilery section if you haven't watched it yet. Maybe you don't intend to, but please do yourself the favor, just give it a try. I'm not saying you'll love it. I'm saying that compared to everything else, it's definitely up there. So that has been my review for episode 3. And I would definitely recommend you guys watch it. And like I said, I wasn't even planning on watching these things. I was not planning on doing any reviews for it. I was just going to do a quick stream. But I don't know, guys. My hope is renewed. I have hope. I'm not saying it's a definite, but I have hope. So, and because I'm enjoying it so much, I'm actually definitely going to be reviewing this series. I might even do like discussion videos on it, theory videos. I know it's based on books that's already out, but like I said, I don't want to read the book. I want to judge the show on its own merit. And apparently it's also not the best Ice and Fire book, but I will read it once the series is done, just so I can do a comparison. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching every episode, reviewing every episode, and when it's all done, I'll review the whole season. So yeah, I hope you guys give it a shot. I hope you guys enjoy it. And thank you very much for watching. This is a very off-the-cuff. I don't intend on doing scripted videos for these reviews. You will be seeing more. I have a very big scripted video coming soon, so just stick around for that. But yeah, I just wanted to get my thoughts out on this. I literally just finished watching. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll see you all next time.